everyone, and welcome to Mrs. Nice English Channel. I'm Nice, your English teacher for today, and I'm super excited to have you all here.
Hi there, I'm Richard, and I'm really happy to join Nice today. I've been trying to improve my English, especially when it comes to asking questions, but I still get confused sometimes.
That's exactly why we're here today, Richard. We'll be talking all about basic questions, how to ask and answer, focusing on WH questions and yes-no questions. This is something many English learners struggle with, but don't worry, by the end of this podcast, you'll be a questioning master.
That sounds great. I really need help with this. Sometimes I don't know which question word to use or how to structure my questions properly.
Well, you came to the right place. Before we dive in, I just want to remind our listeners to like, share, and subscribe to our channel, Mrs. Nice English Channel. Your support helps us create more content like this. Now, shall we get started with our lesson, Richard?
Absolutely. I'm ready to learn.
Perfect. So let's begin with WH questions. These are questions that begin with what, where, when, who, why, and how. They're looking for specific information, not just a yes or no answer.
So if I want to know someone's name, I would say, what is your name?
Exactly. What is used to ask about things or information, like what time is it, or what did you do yesterday?
And where would be for places, right? Like, where do you live?
You got it. When is for time, when does the movie start? Who is for people, who is your favorite singer? Why asks for reasons, why are you learning English? And how can ask about manner, means, or condition. How did you get here? Or how are you feeling?
Wow, there are so many question words. I think I'm starting to get it though. But what about the structure? Does the word order change?
Great question. Yes, with WH questions, we usually put the question word first, followed by an auxiliary verb like do, does, did, is, are, was, etc., then the subject, and finally the main verb if needed. For example, where does John work? Question word plus auxiliary plus subject plus main verb.
So if I want to ask about your hobby, I'd say, what do you like to do in your free time?
Perfect structure. You're catching on quickly.
Thanks. I've been practicing. Now what about yes-no questions? They seem simpler.
Yes, they are a bit more straightforward. Yes-no questions can be answered with just yes or no. They typically start with an auxiliary verb like do, does, did, is, are, can, will, etc.
Like, do you speak Spanish?
Exactly. Or, are you hungry? Or, can you swim? The structure is auxiliary verb plus subject plus main verb if needed plus rest of the sentence.
That makes it sound so simple when you break it down like that.
That's why I'm here, to make English less scary and more fun.
I noticed that with WH questions and yes-no questions, the auxiliary verb comes before the subject. That's different from regular statements where the subject comes first.
You've got a great eye for patterns, Richard. That's exactly right. This inversion of subject and auxiliary verb is what makes it a question in English. In a statement, you'd say, you are happy. But for a question, it becomes, are you happy?
I think I'm getting the hang of this.
You certainly are. Now let's have some fun with a quick quiz to test what we've learned. I'll ask some questions, and our listeners can try to identify whether they are WH questions or yes-no questions. Ready?
Ready. Bring on the quiz.
Question 1. Where did you go last weekend? Is this a WH question or a yes-no question?
It starts with where, which is a WH word, so it's a WH question.
Question 2. Do you enjoy learning English? WH or yes-no?
That starts with the auxiliary verb do, so it's a yes-no question.
Question 3. How long have you been studying English? WH or yes-no?
It starts with how, which is a WH word, so it's a WH question.
Question 4. Can you swim? WH or yes-no?
That's a yes-no question. It starts with the auxiliary verb can.
Last question. Question 5. Why are you learning English? WH or yes-no?
That's a WH question. It starts with why.
Great job, Richard. Let's go through the answers for our listeners. Question 1, where did you go last weekend, is indeed a WH question. Question 2, do you enjoy learning English, is a yes-no question. Question 3, how long have you been studying English, is a WH question. Question 4, can you swim, is a yes-no question. Question 5, why are you learning English, is a WH question.
I got them all right. This really helps clarify the difference between the two types of questions.
You did wonderfully. Now you can see how WH questions ask for specific information, while yes-no questions are looking for confirmation or denial.
I think the hardest part for me was remembering the word order, especially with WH questions.
That's completely normal. Just remember question word for WH questions, then auxiliary verb, then subject, then main verb if needed. Practice makes perfect.
Thanks so much for this lesson, niece. I feel much more confident about asking questions in English now.
It was my pleasure, Richard. Before we wrap up, I want to remind our wonderful listeners that we also have a Spotify channel where you can find all our episodes. Please check it out and follow us there too.
Yes, and don't forget to like and share this video and recommend it to your friends who are learning English. It really helps the channel grow.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us today for Mrs. Nice English Channel. We'll be back soon with more fun English lessons. Remember, there's no such thing as a silly question when you're learning.
Especially if you know how to ask it correctly.
Exactly. See you next time, everyone.
Bye. Keep practicing those questions.